It's another episode of The Hub, your one-stop shop for motocross news from around the world. The biggest news this week is that Ken Roczen has laid out his plans for the remainder of 2024 Pro Motocross. Of course, he will return at Unadilla in the 450 MX class. That was expected and all but confirmed previously. The biggest surprise comes from the fact that he will enter 250 MX at Ironman, the season finale.
I will be racing a RMZ 250 at Ironman. Yep, you heard that right. I'm going to be mixing it up with the kids.
Why is he doing that? Well, no reason is clear. It seems as though Ken is just intent on capitalising on any opportunity to have some fun and wow his legion of fans. How will he perform in the 250 MX class? Well, there's really no telling. It will be one of the greatest, most intriguing stories of the year. Naturally, the RMZ 250 is not the most competitive bike in the class, but Roczen is a phenomenal talent and should be able to make up the difference somewhat. It's worth noting that Roczen's last 250 outdoor race was the Motocross of Nations at Tuschenthal in Germany in 2013. Yes, it really has been that long, and that really puts into perspective just how long Ken Roczen's career has gone on for. There's still another chapter yet to come as well. In more intriguing news ahead of Unadilla, Garrett Marchbanks, who was recently dropped from the Muck-Off FXR Club MX Yamaha team, has joined Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki early. Now, of course, he had already signed a deal with the Green Team for 2025. That was done towards the end of Q1 of this year. But, seeing as he was suddenly available, Mitch Payton offered him the chance to race the remaining rounds of 2024 Pro Motocross in the 250 MX class, and of course, the 250 SMX class in the SuperMotocross playoffs. Marchbanks is currently 21st in the 250 SMX standings, so it's quite reasonable to expect him to jump into the top 20 bracket and avoid the dreaded LCQ. Marchbanks will, of course, sit alongside Levi Kitchen and Ty Masterpool for the remainder of this year. There is no word on when Seth Hammaker or Cameron McAdoo will return to action. Both of those riders have contracts for 2025 though. Intriguing news surfaced from the Grand Prix of Flanders in Belgium this past weekend. The AlpineStars Tech Air MX airbag has been long rumoured, and it finally broke cover with an official presentation from AlpineStars staff. The immediate question that you are going to want answered is, when will this airbag become available? The official statement said this: the pre-production version of Tech Air MX will be available to professional FIM Motocross World Championship and SuperMotocross World Championship riders in Europe and North America starting on July 27th. The production version of the Tech Air MX system for the general public is scheduled for release in international markets in the second half of 2025. Some time for the weekend warrior to wait, but the technology seems to be worth it. My co-host on the MXGP podcast show, Adam Wheeler, was present at the press event and said that the adaptation that AlpineStars have made to transfer the technology from MotoGP to motocross is really quite astounding. You can hear more about the airbag in that MXGP podcast show, which also resides on this channel. Jeffrey Hurling's had a lot to say about the product, which would have undoubtedly benefited him throughout his career. He said it was surprisingly very good, and I've really enjoyed using it. More MXGP news now. The Piera Mobility Group have confirmed their teams for the 2025 FIM Motocross World Championship. Following much speculation, Husqvarna will remain in the paddock with the Nissan MX team. The riders haven't been confirmed yet, but Kai de Wolf will certainly sit beneath that tent. It remains to be seen if he will compete in MX2 or MXGP. The biggest news is that Gas will not be competing in MXGP or MX2, as the Ducati racing team which has run Gas for the last 3 years, and of course delivered the manufacturer a world title with Jorge Prado just last year, will switch, or I should say revert, back to KTM. Speaking in the official statement, Pit Byra said, "Taking Ducati back into the Red Bull KTM colours means we are in an even stronger position for MXGP." And those of you who read my story on Vital MX late last week will know that making the orange colour stronger in racing is really the motivation here, as spreading the efforts across multiple manufacturers has ultimately hurt the reputation of KTM. As Robert Jonas put it in the story, everyone sees a smaller Husqvarna show, a smaller Gas show, and a smaller KTM show. Imagine the gravitas of the operation if all of that was orange. No riders have been confirmed yet, but if I were to have an educated guess, the Ducati team will consist of Simon Lagenfelder, Lucas Kuhnen, and Sasha Kuhnen. The Kuhnen brothers are staying in MXGP next year. They will head to America in 2026. That is confirmed. Jago Geerts returned to action at his home Grand Prix, but only briefly. He competed in the MXGP qualifying race, but opted out of the event, realising that he just wasn't ready for competition. Although he is fully healed, he will now return to the practice track and attempt to build his fitness before returning to MXGP once again. There is a weekend off this weekend, so perhaps we will see him in Sweden. Uddevalla is undoubtedly an easier challenge than Lommel. You remember Henry Jacobi, the former F&H Kawasaki rider, MX2 podium star? Well, he is attempting to race the final couple of rounds of 2024 Pro Motocross, but he's looking for some support. Jacobi has started a GoFundMe with a goal of €5,000, and he has already surpassed that. At the time of recording, he is at €5,400. Considering that, I would say that his venture to the United States is all but confirmed. Another rider who will add to an intriguing dynamic when Pro Motocross resumes. It's worth noting that Jacobi is a much better rider than Gert Krestenhoff, Alvin Oostland, even Harry Kulas, you could argue. So he should really make a splash in the top 10, even with the factory riders like Ken Roczen, Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, and Justin Barcia returning. Significant news from Europe is the fact that Romain Febvre has re-signed with Kawasaki for another 2 seasons. That deal will take him to the end of the 2026 FIM Motocross World Championship. Febvre has been hotly tipped to join Triumph as soon as their 450 is ready. That should be 2026. And now this deal says otherwise. Quite the pickup for Kawasaki, as there are not a lot of other race win contenders on the market, and with Febvre, they are secure for another 2 seasons. It is almost tradition for at least one Motocross of Nations team to prompt controversy and debate, and this year that team is New Zealand. Motorcycling New Zealand announced their riders for Matterley Basin as Hamish Harwood, Brodie Connolly, and Nathan Crawford. The surprise here is that Crawford has always raced under the Australian flag. At no point in his career has he ever expressed any interest in being from New Zealand. It turns out that he does have ties there. He has passports for both Australia and New Zealand, hence why he can do this. But the decision that he has made to hop over to New Zealand for the first time has caused a couple of riders to reach out in disgust. Most notably, Josiah Natsky took to social media to say that he was asked to be a reserve rider for Team New Zealand, but despite the fact that he will always support his country, he felt it was unfair that he should be a reserve rider when, in his words, there is an Australian on the team. Hard to argue with that, and of course it is a significant surprise. Even when Crawford raced in the 2020 FIM Motocross World Championship, he was always Australian, had the Australian flag next to his name. At no point was there ever mention of him being a New Zealander. All drama aside, this is a strong team for New Zealand. They should make the A final quite comfortably, and honestly, maybe they will push towards the top 10. Crawford is more than capable, and Connolly is tipped as a star of the future. It may be an off week, but there has been significant news in the off-road industry. Troy Lee has purchased his company, Troy Lee Designs, back, which marks an important chapter for the brand, gives them a little more freedom, a little more room to do what they want and express their artistic side. And with plenty of rumours swirling around the race team, they seem likely to hook up with Ducati. This all seems to be coming together quite nicely. In a short and sweet statement, Troy Lee said, "I'm incredibly passionate about our brand and future. With strong leadership and dedicated partners, I'm stoked for what's ahead." What's ahead should be revealed in the not too distant future. I am certain that a lot of news will unfold in the next 7 days, so we will see you, same time, same place, next week.